And we're live.
And I'm very colorful.
Very colorful.
Let me make sure we don't have a echo situation. No, we're good. All right, cool.
Yeah, I don't have anything running in the background. I'm on my phone.
Sweet. So tell us about the trucker convoy. And
oh my God.
Did you enjoy the feeling of freedom? I mean, like did you feel it in the air?
Absolutely. Like I've been on many protest marches. I organized them myself for Monsanto with other people and all that good stuff, right? But never, ever in all those years I've done that, did I feel that kind of energy, that kind of unity with the people. All races, all colors, no racist bullshit or extremist bullshit. Like everybody was peaceful, happy. It was just like, it was emotional. I had to cry at times, really, like a few tears, because it was really emotional.
Well, according to the news now, see, now they're having to admit that things are happening and people aren't agreeing with certain ideologies, I guess I'll have to say, on YouTube. Just the idea of, which used to be a liberal idea of my body, my choice. That, I mean, and they only talked about it in one way, but I wholeheartedly believe that statement. It is my body, and I believe it is my choice. And I don't think that any government of either government should be telling people what they can or cannot put in their body. And the whole fact that the entire trucking industry is how most people get their food, at least in the northern North America. I mean, truckers are how we get fed. If you're not growing your own crops and everything, you need to go to the store. That's where it comes from. People forget that there's people that do this, and without them, there will be no supply chain. So they do have the power to make, basically call the government's bluffs on these supply chains and just halt it all right now if they're going to try to force ideas and literally the use of force on you. Because I think mandating an idea where you have to do it, or you can't work, or you can't go to the store, or whatever reason thing that they come up with, that's putting force on an individual. Is trying to.
No.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I babbled on enough.
No, I was just following that up, and I'm saying this is unacceptable. Okay, exactly. This is unacceptable, and not people going out there and claiming their freedom back. So putting you, and when the government starts playing doctor in the first place, that's like a no. Like, that's why we have doctors. We don't need the government to tell us what is good for us. And I don't need anybody up there, I'm not saying any names now, to tell me that I'm good or bad regarding my choice, like a daddy. Exactly. You've been a bad one. You know what I'm talking about? You heard that too, probably. And this is BS. Like, really, it's my soul, my body. I decide what I want to put in, if I want to put it in. And it's enough that we pay taxes already. That should be good enough. So, but don't get me wrong, like, and that's what was the beauty about it. People there, they had it or they didn't have it. I'm not even using that word, but we're on the same page, right? Yeah. So, and that was the beauty about it. It was not the separation that they were trying to accomplish, people hating each other, because this is like a kind of management that I've learned in bigger offices where I worked. They're doing that. They're splitting the crowd. Team leaders, CEOs, whatever, what they do with their team, if it's a bigger one, they start planting bullshit to separate them so they can never go against them in a full group. And this is happening globally with psychopaths doing that. Okay, so, and I think it's backfiring at them now. Totally backfiring. Like they did not see that coming. I didn't see that coming. I was hoping for it, right? But, and I'd work on the spiritual side as well, and I've always seen it there. And, but now, the confirmation is there. This is beautiful and it's spreading. This is a good disease spreading, this is awesome. And I mean, even of the most of the truckers have been, gotten it.
Yeah.
And everybody agrees, my body, my choice.
Absolutely. And
And
I'm
it's not
showing
that
right
I'm
there.
going out and licking people,
Right. Yeah, so this whole idea is spreading all over Italy, all through the Netherlands, Australia. The United States has gotten on board. All kinds of truckers are saying they're joining right there. Canada, America, Australia, Brazil, Italy, all over the world.
Ireland too, even though they don't have to really anymore, but they said they want to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the kind of peaceful protest that governments are actually afraid of because they can't hide it. They can't really hijack it unless they, well, pull a false flag of some kind. And that would be the next step, is to some bad trucker did something, and start building that narrative. They do it in the US already. They tried to make a new fake, 9/11 Pearl Harbor. And I've been actually seeing a lot of people on the news argue that, like on the right side, they say, how dare them, compare this to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. And then the left saying, oh, look, it's horrible, even though, no, it wasn't a real insurrection. You've seen real insurrections around the world. They involve a lot of guns, violence, and stuff like that. This is where a bunch of people taking pictures and they got rowdy maybe and broke a window or two. But they try to build a narrative on that. And it's funny because actually I'm a person that agrees with the left that it was like a 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. And in both of those cases, the government was very involved in the whole thing. From the start to finish. If you know history, you know that the Americans knew the attack was going to happen on Pearl Harbor and didn't blame. They didn't warn anyone or tell anyone or move the fleet or anything. They just ignored it. So that's basically being involved in it. And then we could talk for hours about 9/11. But back to the trucker thing.
I mean, at the end of the day, they all go golfing together. We know that. So.
Absolutely. And that's why these trucker things and rallies, that they can't really control it. They didn't have time to put a bunch of like federal agents faking to be truckers, because it was so organic. It happened over the course of like a week, and now it's worldwide. What do you think about that?
It started with one woman at the border, with one girl, with one trucker girl. It started.
Yeah, and
like,
so you
and
actually.
then it spread.
You got to go down there and talk to people and walk around in it. So you were right in it. Just tell us about the whole atmosphere there.
So it started first of all, I'm a total idiot sandwich. I didn't know because I'm not on Facebook really anymore. So I totally missed the news. And then my daughter told me that they're gathering here in Etchison. And I thought they're gathering to go. So, however, as soon as I found out they're here, I jumped out of my PJs into my clothes. I didn't even hairbrush, nothing. I just zoomed. So anyways, it started before. Like, I saw people on the bridge waving to the people. And like you saw in all those videos too, right? And right before the city, cars honking, beeping, people waving at each other's. And my horn on the car was broken, so I couldn't honk. So I had to roll down my window and scream out, but that was fun too. And so and just entering there, you could feel right away this unity of people. Like, I was laughing and crying at the same time, really. And I don't really get affected that much. Like, I know how to block myself out because I'm very empathy. But there was no chance. Like, it was amazing. Like, I had goosebumps. Everybody happy, everybody smiling, peaceful. There were no nasty words. There were, I don't know, I could just approach people and I said, hey, you're live on YouTube, and they were like, woo. Like, months ago or a year ago, I wouldn't have dared to put my phone, hey, you're live on YouTube. They would have said, oh, don't show my face. But that was my point. They were like, I'm here, I'm the one, and I'm claiming my freedom back that I own in the first place. So from the energy point of view, I would say this wasn't a protest, we're claiming this back. This is ours now. And
So
that's it. We're not having any further discussion.
it was more of a reclamation of rights there. You're reclaiming it.
Yeah, that's what I felt. There was no negotiation anymore. That was like, that's it, and we're done with that. So really, it was just amazing. I was walking up and down through the crowds, and my ears were bleeding at night when I got back to my car. It was really loud from all the trucks and cars honking, but it was awesome. It was so awesome. Just and there were people that had a food stand up with hot dogs and coffee, so people could just grab it. They didn't have to pay. It was just like, here.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Where do you think this is going? Because you know that this kind of was like a thumbs up. I mean, not that kind of thumb, like a, thumb in our nose to the government in the way that they didn't control it. It was organic. But where do you think that their whole plan was actually going? Because you know that they've been putting a divide in society in every kind of workplace environment that you can think of. A company either went pro mandate or against the mandate. But for the people that work for all of these different companies, and I mean from government all the way down, they basically made a split of people that have one mindset about autonomy over their own soul, and the other people that are willing to be subjugated like sheep, basically, if I'm not being too rude, but they are willing to accept it in order to keep their lifestyle going. So do you think that that's the main plan, really, was to just finally, once and for all, find something to divide everyone everywhere in a way unlike they ever have before? Because think about it, the pandemic, if you want to call it that, separated people along lines that never has before. So these weren't racial lines or religious lines, right in the middle of families, workplaces, religions. They're split into two groups. The ones that realize that I don't want to have to be, under subjugation of another person telling me what I'm going to do with my entire soul. And I view your body as the temple of your soul, regardless of what religion or mindset you are. This is who you are. This is your body. If there was a soul of yours, it's contained in there. So it should be every human's right on the entire planet to decide that. But do you think that was the main plan of this? I mean, beyond poisoning people, in my opinion, that's not medical advice.
Besides what Bill Gates said, obviously in public, right, that we are too many people and he has a vaccine for it. I mean, we all saw that one. Yeah. So besides that, yeah, I'm like, I said from the beginning, this is totally control and this is totally separation, because separation, control, alone with traveling. If you look at plane tickets now, how much there are, how much there were before, this is only, well, it's going back now, backwards again to the positive. But when this all started, tickets were so expensive that only wealthy people could afford to travel.
Absolutely.
And not the regular class like us, right? So that was a tip that was where they started to sorting out slowly. And then we would have the people with no job that would stand up for themselves or probably live in the bush hiding from them. But this took such a switch, like even the ones that lost the job or took it in order to get a job. I just feel so bad because, first of all, they didn't do their research, but of course you get that thrown in your face, existence, fear, right? My existence, oh God, oh God, oh God, I have family, so bam. And, but at the end, what the government did, at least here, they gave the company the choice, right? Because if you, as far as I understood what I read on the government side, if you qualify for one of the two programs, enter here.
Yeah.
So companies had to sign up for it. And of course, some of the big corporations, they're all like, I'm a big shot, I can decide, right? So actually they're like brushing it off.
Yeah.
I mean, to sue at the end, who do you sue? Government, your work job, that's a different thing. You probably have to do 20% here, 20% there, right?
Yeah, and none of us will ever afford lawyers to be able to do those kind of things. You'll have to
No,
wait
not
20 years when you're all, you're gimpy in your chair, and then on the television it says, did you use any of these, blah, blah, blah. I can't say the word, but you see those all the time on TV, right?
Then you qualify for lawsuit so-and-so.
Yeah, I see these drugs that have come and gone in my lifetime. Like I remember when they were advertising them first, and now I see them 20 years later on the TV, and they're like, did you take this pill? You're messed up basically. So maybe your family can get a couple pennies after the lawyers get most of it, because that's what they're doing. They always do that. They did that with tobacco in the United States. A bunch of lawyers got together, sued the government. The lawyers kept the money. No victims of tobacco ever got paid. So they don't ever, even when they pretend to be held responsible, they're not. I mean, even in the end. But you're right. The companies have jumped in the place of your daddy, or trying to be your daddy, by deciding for their entire company that you have to do this or you can't work. And basically what they're doing is cutting society in two parts, the haves and the have-nots. And in order to have, you have to do every little thing that they're doing. And in my opinion, from what I'm looking at, basically what they're trying to do is make a world that is so addicted to having to have the government feed them some kind of either medication, food, or whatever it is they're holding over their heads during just endless lockdowns, whether it's climate, and they're saying you're bad for the environment, so you can maybe only travel on Tuesday if you're triple masked and you're vaccinated and you got your little app. And it's reminiscent, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, of several different times and several different countries where things started to go down this path, and it never ended well, not only for the people that tried it, but for the people that had to endure it when it was happening. Do you think that something similar will happen now, or do you think they'll just back off and try it again in a few years? Because you see it everywhere. The data's coming out. People are not participating anymore. And then now finally with these trucker convoys, it's kind of, they can't really hide it much longer that people do not agree.
They have to give the people something. They just can't ignore it. It's too far. It's too many. It's going worldwide. So, and I'm not leaning myself out over the window saying they're never going to try it again, right? Because they are greedy mofos.
Yeah.
So, probably something down the line. And I know I heard the thing. So this is a big plan because of Walmart, Costco, and taking over and all of that. But I don't see that really. But then we have to start now. I mean, we're all kind of guilty of these big chains, because I remember in the 70s, back then when I was little, we all had these little convenience stores, and we called them, if I translated, Auntie Emma store.
Yeah, mom and pops is what we call it here. Yeah, mom and pops stores.
So, and then the bigger chains came in with more product, a little cheaper, 2 cents, pennies cheaper, and we left mom and pops, right? So, and now, of course, those two big stores that I don't like in the first place, they are trying the same thing now. So I don't really see, that this is part of that. I mean, they're blaming it now on the truckers too, right? They tried to switch it. They instigated it, so that can happen. That was not an instigation. Those are people. Our people are out there right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And unfortunately, this is just in my opinion, it may never come to fruition, but I'm reading what all of these people really want, like the executives of Walmart and Costco and all of these people. What they really want is to fire and get rid of and stop paying the healthcare benefits of their full-time employees and different people, and replace them with robots. They're all wanting to manufacture a bunch of robots to replace the workforce, which then you have to ask yourself, where do we fit into that if we're not needed as workers anymore to the global establishment? And the same thing's happening, unfortunately, with truckers here in the United States. 12 states I think it's been ongoing for about 5 years, have been practicing with a person in it, but letting the AI drive. And now in Arizona, they've tested the first unmanned, totally unmanned truck where it took a bunch of product somewhere. So that's where that's headed. They're about to try to kick us literally off the roadways and replace us.
They want AI to take over in any matter. They want us to implant stuff, right? Chips here, chips to Google, chips to that, chips to travel. Like,
Yeah.
and if I mean, if anyone would support that chain once they start doing that, I'm sorry, then you don't deserve better, right? But now where the world is watching, all of the world is watching, I don't think they will go ahead too much with it because they can't. I mean, we have to keep in mind, we're still more than them. I mean, screw their money, screw their millions. What are they going to do if they don't have us support them anymore? You know what I mean?
Well, I think Bill Gates kind of told us what they had when he put that nice formula up on the screen behind him, and he said one of these letters has to change, and it's the P for population. They're right in our face, kind of telling us what the next phase is. So the peaceful protest is great because it makes people wake up to the idea of what they're really trying to push on people. And I think if there's enough people awake, they're little cowards and they won't try it because they want to kind of trick people into it in a way, but tell them the truth at the same time. It's kind of like that cosmic thing of everyone, they always tell you the bad thing they're going to do to you before they do it. And then once they start doing it, they deny it. Oh, that's not what we're doing. We're not, this is for your safety. This is to help you.
Yeah. And I'm your daddy. I'm going to decide what you do and what you not do. Go to your room.
Well, there's the question is, when is it that you think they'll try to spank us? Because basically, like you said, they think they're our daddy. And at some point they will try to spank their children, which is what they think we are, children.
That's what they're doing right now, right? But that's what I mean. If everyone gets on their feet now, everyone, and so far this is a huge part. If everyone keeps walking, I'm pretty sure then we have a chance. Regardless, everybody should be able to plant stuff, to grow vegetable. And that was another thing they took away from us. I remember back in my days in the school, we learned a lot. We learned how to plant veggies, I mean, in little projects, but we learned it. We went out to nature walks. We got the trees explained and everything. And they took all this away from the students, right? So
Yeah.
making us more dependent on them. But I see we have a good chance if really everybody keeps doing what they do now and not going 3 steps back again. But I don't feel this, not in this crowd that was out.
So yeah, tell us about this crowd. You actually stopped and talked to some of these people. Here you are getting out of the car. And let's see here.
Yeah, I know my camera quality is shitty, but also my connection was not the best there because everybody was probably on the phone.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody was trying to live stream this. Yeah, and there it is. So you kind of lucked out and this thing happened near you. Is that why you were able to go to this?
Yeah, that was about 40 minutes away from where I live right now. I live outside of the city, but took me less to get there because I was rushing.
Oh, shh. You'll get the Canadian Mounted Police coming to talk to you about speeding here. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, so there's lots of people here. How many people do you think that were packed in there? Some of the drone footage I saw of this area looked like a giant Christmas tree at nighttime with all of the truck lights flickering, and it was just amazing.
It was beautiful. Like my cell phone died, but because I wasn't prepared, right? I totally didn't know, and I could bite my ass, but because I'm not on Facebook really, so I didn't get the news flash.
Right. Well, this
But
is kind of
there.
some of the best footage that people do get are unexpected like this. So this is pretty cool. So you're walking into there, you're talking to everybody, and they're all pumped, they're peaceful.
Yeah, pumped but peaceful and happy and laughing, and like
Yeah, this
people
is how
gave
it's
me
supposed to be done.
hugs, people hugging, hugs. And that was so nice. And two people actually, they spoke a whole story. I don't know if it's on the first part or the second part. I forgot, because I got interrupted once, my connection dropped, so I had to start a second one.
Yeah.
So, but at one point I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna approach some people. And every time when I said, hey, you're live on YouTube, squeak, scream, and laugh, right? It was, and
Yeah.
some people spoke their opinion.
Yeah, look at that. Got him some signs. And you know what's funny about this is the president, or is he? Yeah, it is a president, right? In Canada, I forget.
Prime Minister, yeah.
Trudeau, Prime Minister. Yes, that's right. He was hiding out here in America during this.
With the COVID, he got the COVID.
Yeah, but
He
he?
got a new strain.
Oh, but I thought he was protected already, like 3 times worth, like 4 times even. Now, when are people going to realize that
variant?
Oh, I see. I'm not supposed to let you know that if you just thought about it for a minute, you would realize that any new variant can't already be made into one of their products. I'm just going to leave it there. There wasn't enough time, even if it worked like it was supposed to. There's no way for a new variant to already be manufactured into a product to stop it. So, but I'm not supposed to say that, so hopefully no one heard it.
No one heard it.
Anyway, yeah, look, these are just tons of people. So they were just driving back and forth and up and down. And you can see that a lot of these are not even truckers. They're just regular people with their cars and their signs walking around.
Yeah, everybody joined. They all gathered up at one point. And at the whole protest march, not even police, I saw 2, a man and a woman, very nice. And the one car that was probably theirs, and they were just walking around and also talking to people, yet staying distant, but very nice. So they didn't have an issue either. And I mean, we know anyways, like on those big ones where you see that they pull out single people, preferably pregnant women or elderlies, we know they're paid agents, right? They're not real policemen. So
right.
So, but no, it was not even them. I mean, I have to say in Edmonton, like when we did other protest march, even with Anonymous or against Monsanto, I never had issue with the police. Like one cop, he was driving a few years ago, that was with Anonymous. He was driving next to me with his bicycles, and we were yapping the whole time. He was like, that's cool. What are you guys protesting against, right? So I'm like, everybody got theirs, and we had a nice conversation, or they even kept the streets clear for us, so we wouldn't be in danger. So I have to say, here in Edmonton, very, very nice. I cannot say anything else, and I will not. Even some maybe want to hear it, but I can't. Edmonton police is very nice. In Alberta, I can't say it any different. I mean, you don't want to be rude to them or an asshole. I'm sure they can act different.
Yeah.
But is it that I was driving around with my registration expired, and I knew and I didn't have the money? So, and then, of course, that day behind me, a cop car, right? And I was like, shit. 2 seconds later, my cell phone, hello, it's Constable so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was waiting for my paycheck. And he was like, okay, you get that done then, right? I'm like, yeah. He was like, have a good day. So he could have pulled me over and give me a big ticket and give me a big speech. But that's what I'm saying. Like we talked, I'm totally drifting off the subject, sorry. But if you see those cops, policemen, officers pulling out people and beating them with a stick just because, I don't believe 1 second this is the real police.
You think they send them in there to, most of the time? Well, we know for a fact that agent provocateurs over time have done things like this. It's on record. It's you can FOIA here in America. They've done it all kinds of times. They act like they don't do it until a couple years when all the documents come out and they go, oh, well, that was the other administration. We don't do that. And then they do it again. It's kind of funny too. When you think about these police, you have to remember that there are massive amounts of police officers, at least in the United States, that I would say were forced to quit because they didn't want to be mandated. And this is the same thing that's true for the ambulance workers, for any medical personnel that didn't agree with it. They most likely don't have a job now. And so you see this polarization happening where anybody that would ever question a narrative doesn't work in any of the fields anymore and won't be the managers. They won't be the CEOs anymore and things like that. And you got to remember that these are everyday people. So here in a few years, if the mandates went out, which I don't think they will, I think that they're about done now. I think people are done with it. I can't believe Australia ever let it go that far. What was going down there, but it shows you how fast civilization can turn. And if it does, you have to keep in mind all of those people are not in the government anymore that think like you do, because they were purged when they were given a decision whether or not to go with it or lose their job. They left. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. But I do agree with you that I think that this is an eye opener. They can't put back in this is a genie they can't put back in the bottle. About this. And think about it. The only other time I know where forced medical experiments were done and okay with the public, that didn't turn out too good for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, you have to see all this to where people were complying now out of fear. I mean, this was a long process that worked on. It started in the 60s or whenever, when the TV came. It started with the TV, like slowly. And we call it, there is a saying in German, we call it, I can't really translate it, but maybe it makes sense. The salami tactic. So you slice a little bit off the salami, piece by piece, until there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So, and then we add a few games in it. Or we give them back a little more freedom, let them breathe. And then if they don't behave, or we show them we can take it away again. It's nothing but a freaking game. Lockdown, non-lockdown, lockdown, non-lockdown. Okay, so, and it's like, gives people like, they put them kind of in a trauma PTSD position. Yeah. And then when they then come out with other mandates, okay, you got to get it. Of course, they will comply because they don't want to go back into this back forth, which they are in the first place, because no one has gotten their freedom back. And I spoke to many that are realizing it now. I also spoke to many that weren't doing good health-wise, but we don't want to get into that on your channel now. But what I'm saying is, on both sides, people are coming together again.
Yeah.
And that's the big plus. That's the unity we need. Everybody wants this to end, and regardless. And that's what they didn't expect. That's what they didn't see coming.
Yeah. I think a lot of people woke up to, and that salami effect is basically what people like Klaus Schwab and others have wrote about when they talk about how they could take over basically countries at a time with incrementalism. And you're exactly right. They started these weird propaganda programs early with Project Mockingbird, where the news was controlled by the Central Intelligence. And by the way, they never stopped doing that. And then there's the Muntz Act or whatever it was, legalizing them to propagandize their own people and people overseas in other countries. So this is going on everywhere, and it's decades upon decades of it. And I think this kind of scares them when so many people wake up all at once, because it's incrementalism. like the frog in the boiling water. It doesn't really notice because it's so slow. But every time they make one of these mandates, they'll give most of it back, but they'll keep something. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe you have to wear masks in the federal buildings or whatever it is. They'll keep a little win, and then in a few years they'll get another one. And then, like you said, there's just no more freedom at the end of it. They have got every single bit of it.
Yeah, that's why we are where we are now. I mean, look at Australia, look at Austria. They're almost like in the same position as Australia right now. They're still fighting it. So is Germany. But so, and no one knew about it. So me and I'm sure others tried to spread the word there, what's going on here. And now it's spreading in Europe. You know?
It's awesome. Yeah. I was showing an article a minute ago. All of these countries are doing the same thing. So they can't hide it at this point because it's a unified idea. But they may try to co-opt it or subvert. And I'm sure that when you look at mainstream media, they're probably just now starting to cover it, but they won't cover it in the right way. And they'll say it's, they always take the opportunity to try to give you the opposite narrative again. And it surprises me.
Say that with this latest Optimus Prime, that this will end the, situation.
Don't worry about it. If you just let us anal swab you, you know that, and this isn't a joke. This is not a fake story. I don't have it up right now, but U.S. State Department employees allowed China to anal swab them to allow them to stay there. Can you believe that? Is literally like bending over and saying, please, I don't want to get too graphic, but that's unbelievable. That would have never happened.
Are you swapping me? Take the cactus as well and shove it in?
Well, it just shows you what basically what I say all the time is our government has already folded to the world government. They just haven't admitted it yet to the public. And every time they start to try to, the public gets all crazy and then they back off again because they know what's going to happen after that.
Oh, and I just remember talking of when that started back. I found or was sent a new, we had this TV news back then that everybody followed at sharp 8 or sharp 10.
Yeah.
And in this one, they were actually talking about HAARP officially. We were talking about HAARP. I will send this to you and translate it for you. I was just like, what? Of course, I didn't remember anymore. It was from 1970 or something. But
yeah,
like again, they put it out. Like you said, they put it out. I think they have to by some codex they have to tell you the news, the truth, but people don't believe it.
Yeah.
And then they're surprised when it happens. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, it's like a universal law where they usually always someone tells you what they're going to do to you before they do it. Now later they'll deny it and they'll distort the truth and all of that. But at the beginning, they told you. And when you read some of these globalist and eugenics books of the 20s and 30s and 40s, you find out that all of this has been literally gamed out and thought about before they even knew the technology was going to be here to do it with. So that's kind of spooky on it. I mean, by itself, like from H.G. Wells, you could go on and on with these authors that were in these groups of people and they wrote about these things and they're all happening, like Soylent Green. I was reading that all these companies startup companies are making it legal in state by state to use human remains for fertilizer and these weird things to try to get people to do things like cannibalism in a roundabout way. They tried it straightforward. We rejected it, so they'll try to keep sneaking it in and they do this. And why do you think they're doing that? Is that the main spiritual attack, is all these little weird things that they add, besides I
think so. It's a law thing, a spiritual, magical law thing that they have to follow. the ones that start with an M, you know, the free M, or whoever is behind it, they have to. It's a law for them. I don't understand exactly what spiritual background they have and why, but I do know they have to. They're not allowed to lie, so they have to at least partially tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's
So,
like it's kind of like the Mason thing. If you were to become a Mason, you can't just, they're not going to come get you and say, hey, you want to come over and be a Mason? That's not how it works. You have to ask them.
yeah.
And then they have to accept you. And it's like asking for enlightenment. They won't give you any unless you knew what you were asking for.
Yeah, and I'm not saying every Freemason is bad, right? You have your little man clubs that just go there,
Man
shoot the
clubs.
shit, and some even do something for what?
I was just laughing at the man clubs because it's like some of these other Masonic branch offs, like the Elks Lodge and the like the VFW is kind of one of them. And then if you ever go into those, that's exactly what it is. A bunch of old dudes drinking and throwing darts and shit.
Yeah.
These are the secret society people. What the hell is going on? No, they're just the lower rungs. And you're right. Just because you're a Mason doesn't mean you even took part in these grand schemes of these elite weirdos.
No, that's what I mean. It's like, it's like the difference we have here, a magician or a shaman, and there we have a tarot card reader that just started to understand the tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
It does make them satanic or whatever. I know, stupid comparison, but just as an example.
Well, unless they went and got a satanic themed deck of tarot cards, you might go, hey, well, why'd you get the ones with Satan on every card? I like Satan. What do I say? Like I see there are people like the guy that came for the census over here. I watch him in the camera, and he's got this Baphomet medallion thing, just a head, right? And he pulls it out when he gets out of the car, and he puts it out there, and it's got like a pentagram behind it, but it's Baphomet, and he walks up and I said,
the animal body.
No, not the body, just the goat head, thing with it's the one they adopted to make the satanic symbol. So they stole it. Yeah, they stole it and they made their little satanic symbol. And so he pulls it out and he walks up and he says, I'm with the census. I said, are you a Luciferian? And he said, oh, yeah. And then he grabs it and he says, oh, I didn't know that was out. But I just watched him pull it out so that I would see it. And he probably thought I wouldn't say nothing about it. But I right away, I said, are you a Luciferian? I was like, whatever floats your boat, dude.
I mean, it's just funny. They use this symbol, right? And they don't even look at it and they don't even understand that it actually combines all religions with their symbols and animals. So it's actually pretty funny. There's nothing bad or evil about it. But
no, you have these weirdos that, which is even weirder because they're really extreme Bible believers, like totally. They say they're not, but think about it. If you're picking the character out of that book and you pick the bad guy, then you believe in the story. So that's even weird on its own. But yeah, they stole all of these emblems and icons and tried to say that all of this other stuff is this new thing, which can't be any newer than the Bible, which all of those other symbols are way older than people thought up the Bible. And the Bible itself, I know people get mad at me, but if you read through it, it's a big zodiac map. There's all kinds of secret knowledge hidden in it. It really has nothing to do with, some of it has nothing to do with the story that's even being told. It's just numbers.
Many things actually go so far back that they stole stories.
Oh yeah.
Like if you compare the original Edda and the Bible, you find so much similarity in there, or from other cultures. It goes back to the Atlantis story back then. So, I mean, that would take too long. Maybe we can talk another time about it because it's really interesting where the Jesus is coming from and all, right? So he was a real dude, just not the way they expected it. If I tell them that Jesus was probably Germanic, I'm gonna get burned on a stag.
Well,
So
that's the thing. It's a 2,000-year-old story that's kind of open for interpretation a lot. See, like I took the story of Jesus as just the story of any man, every woman, a human in their path to enlightenment. And
mhm.
the reason I say that is because they use specific numbers in the story of Jesus to tell you his journey. At 12, everybody's impressed with him. He's got wisdom, blah, 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 but he is not enlightened really. He's just wise. And then by 33, the top of the pyramid, the 33,
33.
the 33 degree, he becomes enlightened in the flesh as a man on earth alive. And what happens? The government kills him because you can't do that. And you think about any other person that's ever thought about or taught love and getting along and peacefulness, they kill them. The government kills them. So it's just a classic story of man in the
You look at us now, what they're trying to do, you know?
exactly.
And I think those resets happen every time when people start knowing too much, when they start getting their connection with the source, right? If I can get spiritual now. As soon as
Absolutely.
they realize these people have more power than they should know, then bam, let's wipe them out. But
Yeah,
this,
I think that's what they mean by the Great Reset, actually, is that they've picked this time period to try to cull people, because they realized that the information singularity has come to a point that they can't control it anymore. And that includes spiritual knowledge and spiritual attainment. And you can get into some weirder stuff. Like if you follow people that are talking about the grand solar minimum, it may be possible that at times on Earth before, the magnetic field and the way that the stars were in their cycle, people may have been clairvoyant actually at one time where they were receiving information from the universe itself. And we may be going into that time period again, which is why they're so scared and trying to, put it all back in the bottle, because then they won't be able to control things anymore at all. Everyone will have access to the information field.
Yeah, to the source, and could live peacefully together and do other things. Who knows? I mean, who knows who out there is involved there as well? I mean,
you could just imagine a world where empathy was like just like any other sense that you have: smell, touch, taste, sight, hearing, and empathy. Imagine if you couldn't turn empathy off so much that you were clairvoyant, where when you came across a person, you totally understood them, where they were coming from, their pains, their sorrows, their triumphs, and instantly you just understood them. You wouldn't hate them, you'd understand them. And imagine a whole world where everybody can do that and understand each other. There would be no aggression or war. It would all be more of an understanding and,
and
just
build
a
up
trippy
each
idea.
other, I mean, and be in tune with the nature again, which I don't mean as a tree hugger. I mean it that we are really connected to this planet.
It's okay
right?
to hug the tree, though.
I do have.
Every time I'm on mushrooms, I hug a few trees, at least a couple of them.
I go hug my trees and I talk to the trees and I always tell them how pretty they are. And when people walk by, they're like, but I don't care. But I always talk to trees because I do.
I think
No,
they're
but I'm
talking
just
back.
saying, I'm not talking from that point of view. It's just we're really, really, really connected to nature. It's like you can see it. If we suffer, nature starts suffering, or the opposite around. So that's why I always preach to go outside and really talk to trees. Every tree has a different vibration for a different issue, you can say.
Absolutely.
Like the willow will help with sadness, for example. The pine tree will help with depression. The oak tree will give you strength. So they're all on a different level of vibration and can help people with it. That's what I mean. We're so connected to them. And that's why they're trying to kill all trees.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. You haven't been on my channel for a while. For those that are watching that don't know Anja Teich, tell us about your channel and what you do there, and I will put that up on screen for everybody to see.
Oh, and sorry if I'm not saying anything. I don't see the chat. I don't have the chat up, so I'm not being rude. I just don't have a chat on my phone.
All right. Let's see here.
Because I
So
was with you on Zoom. I wasn't on the YouTube thingy.
I got you.
So, yeah, what I do, oh God, I do a lot of everything, I think. I'm into Norse mythology. I'm a Sikona, so which that means it's a North shaman, North witch. That's my path. So I combine magic, healing. I work with the Vril energy, the universal force, the chi, the cha. I do readings. I do healings with people. Yeah, I do all kind of stuff. And I never stop learning or expanding my knowledge. And so I'm not saying I'm there yet and I know it all, but I'm always willing to learn. And with every time I heal or give something away, I get something back. Like I meet great people, I make great friends. But that's my main path. I'm walking the north path of my ancestors that I found out my line.
Sweet. So healing, healing, and healing.
Healing, the healing.
Healing power. Sweet. Thanks
But
for
that
coming on,
doesn't mean
Anja.
I'm love and light. I also punch if I have to.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks for coming on, Anja, and let's see if we
Thank
can
you,
try to get you
Ransom.
on
That was
again.
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.